China, May 1966. Mao Zedong declares war on the old world. In his own words, to rebel is justified. 3 words that ignite the Cultural Revolution. Within weeks, students across the nation transform into Red Guards, Mao's teenage army. Fueled by fanatic devotion, they attack teachers, raid homes, and destroy centuries of culture. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar writes, Mao unleashed the young to crush his enemies and reclaim total power. This is the story of how Mao weaponized millions of teenagers and plunged China into a reign of terror. May 16th, 1966. The day China changes forever. Mao Zedong pushes the May 16th notification through the Politburo, a document accusing revisionists inside the party of plotting against him. It is a lie, but it is the lie he needs. Historian Frank Dikötter notes bluntly, Mao created an imaginary enemy in order to unleash real violence. Mao is angry. His prestige has fallen since the Great Leap Forward famine. Millions died under his policies. Critics whispered. Some openly questioned his judgment. Mao wants revenge. He wants absolute power again. And he knows exactly how to get it. By weaponizing the young. At Beijing University, philosophy instructor Nye Yuanzi posts a big character poster accusing school leaders of being capitalist reactionaries. The accusation is groundless, but Mao praises it personally. He declares it the first Marxist big character poster in China. Historian Jonathan Spence writes, Mao's endorsement of this poster was the opening shot of the Cultural Revolution. From that moment, Mao sends a message to China's youth. Accuse, expose, attack, no matter the truth. Schools begin chaos. Teachers are denounced. Party officials are interrogated. Accusations spread like wildfire. Anyone who hesitates is labeled a revisionist. Anyone who questions Mao becomes an enemy. Leaders who attempt to calm the situation, like Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping, are silenced. Their authority stripped. Their warnings ignored. Mao wants no restraint, no moderation, no control. Historian Andrew Walder summarizes the moment. Mao deliberately dismantled authority so that only his will remained. July 1966. Mao swims in the Yangtze River in front of reporters. A staged performance to show his strength. State newspapers proclaim, Chairman Mao is as vigorous as ever. It is symbolic. Mao is back. And now he's ready to unleash the storm. By early August, Mao endorses the idea of teenage revolution. He urges students to strike down all demons and monsters. He urges them to destroy the 4 olds. Old ideas, old culture, old customs, old habits. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar writes, Mao encouraged the young to become shock troops against anyone who stood in his way. The message is unmistakable. Destroy the past. Destroy authority. Destroy the old world. And the teenagers, millions of them, listen. The Red Guards are about to rise. They came from middle schools, high schools, universities. Most were 15 to 19 years old. Many had never seen real violence before. Mao was about to change that. The Red Guards did not emerge naturally. They were engineered. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar confirms. Mao created the Red Guards as a political instrument, not a spontaneous mass movement. Their purpose was simple: destroy Mao's enemies, real or imagined, and terrify the nation into obedience. The Central Committee releases its blueprint for chaos: Decision on the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. It tells the youth, reject teachers, reject parents, reject tradition, reject caution. It orders the destruction of the four olds, and it declares Mao's enemies everywhere. Historian Elizabeth Perry notes, the 16 points supplied ideological cover for what would soon become unrestrained violence. The teenagers read this document as a license, not for debate, but for war. Schools officially halt classes, not for weeks, for years. Mao wants the youth unanchored. No structure, no discipline, only him. Students form Red Guard units, complete with armbands and homemade insignia. Some wear military coats stolen from supply depots. Others carry thick belts, bamboo rods, bricks. Whatever could hurt. In abandoned classrooms, they read Mao's little red book aloud in a trance-like frenzy. One survivor later recalled, "We believed Chairman Mao was a god, and we were chosen to purify the world." At Tiananmen Square, 1 million Red Guards gather. Mao appears in a green army coat, a deliberate uniform to show he is one of them. Mao does not speak. He does not need to. He simply waves. He smiles. He gives his blessing. Then he places a Red Guard armband on Song Binbin, a girl from an elite family. After that rally, the Red Guards explode across Beijing. They beat teachers, drag principals through the streets, burn books, smash temples, loot homes. The government orders police not to intervene. Why? Because Mao wants the violence. Frank Dikötter writes, Mao lifted all restraints. The Red Guards acted knowing they had impunity. The first major slayings erupt in Beijing, district by district, school by school. The Red Guards target black elements, teachers, former landlords, suspected rightists, anyone with foreign books, anyone wearing Western clothing, anyone who hesitates. The brutality is shocking even to party officials, but Mao is pleased. In private meetings noted by historian Andrew Walder, Mao says, "It is good to cause chaos. Chaos will produce the new order." To Mao, dead bodies are not a tragedy. They are proof the revolution is working. The Red Guards now have a leader, a mission, and no limits. Late August 1966, Beijing becomes a city under siege. Within days of Mao's Tiananmen rally, the capital transforms. Not metaphorically, literally. Streets choked with chanting youth, homes raided, school gates splintered, police standing aside, hands tied by Mao's orders. Mao wanted chaos, and chaos answered. The target lists expand. At first, teachers and principals, then bourgeois intellectuals, then so-called black categories, former landlords, rightists, capitalist roaders, anyone with foreign books, anyone with a piano, anyone wearing clothing deemed Western, anyone who hesitates, questions, doubts, or simply looks afraid. Thousands dragged from their homes, thousands paraded through the streets with ink-smeared faces and dunce caps, thousands beaten publicly while crowds cried out Mao's slogans. There was no defense, no appeal, no mercy. August 25th to 30th, 1966. The Daxing Massacre. This was the moment the terror crossed a line, even for the Cultural Revolution. In Daxing County, just outside Beijing, the killings became systematic, door to door, village by village, families executed on the spot. Infants, yes, infants, killed to prevent counter-revolutionary revenge, according to local Red Guard reports. Historian Yang Su documents, over the course of days, 325 people were murdered in Daxing. The youngest was only a few weeks old, the oldest, 80. The killings were so horrific that even some Red Guards broke down. One survivor said, "We thought we were cleansing society. Instead, we became murderers." But the party leadership did not punish the killers. They praised them, because Mao approved of the brutality. As death tolls rise, Liu Shaoqi and other senior leaders beg Mao to restore order. They warn that the violence is out of control. Mao ignores them. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar writes that Mao dismissed concerns with chilling confidence. Revolution is not a dinner party. Many will die, but the ones who should die will die. To Mao, the bloodshed served a purpose. It crushed the old order. It humiliated intellectuals. It terrified the party into submission. It weakened rivals like Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping. And it elevated Mao to unquestioned, godlike authority. Every corpse was a political victory. September 1966. Beijing's cultural heritage is destroyed. Temples burned, ancestral halls smashed, historic scrolls tossed into bonfires. The Confucius Temple in Beijing is raided. Red Guards ransack thousands of artifacts, reducing centuries of culture to ashes. Historian Orville Schell records, "What could not be burned was broken. What could not be broken was desecrated." To Mao, this was purification. To the Chinese people, it was the erasure of their soul. Beijing is now trapped in a nightmare. And the rest of China is about to follow. The killings in Beijing should have alarmed Mao. Instead, they excited him. In Zhongnanhai, he reads reports from Red Guard groups across the capital. Beatings, executions, burnings, humiliations. He circles passages he likes in red pencil. Beijing's terror becomes Mao's blueprint for the entire country. On September 5th, 1966, Mao republishes his infamous directive, "Bombard the headquarters." To outsiders, it sounds like a metaphor. To the Red Guards, it is a command. Attack the bureaucrats. Attack your principals, your deans, your party secretaries. Attack anyone who doubts Mao. Students interpret his words literally. Anyone above them must fall. Anyone with authority, other than Mao, must be destroyed. Mid-September, Red Guard factions spread like wildfire. Beijing no longer holds a monopoly on terror. City after city erupts. Shanghai, Nanjing, Guangzhou, Changsha, Chongqing, Harbin, Wuhan, Tianjin. Red Guard units multiply like warlords, each claiming loyalty to Mao, each competing to prove who is more revolutionary, each escalating violence to gain attention. To be too soft meant you weren't loyal enough. So the brutality escalated. In late September, Mao approves a radical directive: destroy the 8 big histories, a term Red Guards use for libraries, museums, genealogies, archives, classical literature, historical records, ancestral shrines, cultural monuments. Anything that connected the Chinese people to their past must vanish. Red Guards burn millions of books. Priceless manuscripts become ash. Entire family histories disappear in hours. This is not chaos. This is intentional cultural annihilation. A stunning decree. Red Guards may travel anywhere in China for free. Trains, boats, buses, all cost nothing. Mao wants the terror mobile, nationwide. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar explains. Mao mobilized the Red Guards as a national shock force, destabilizing the entire state apparatus. Within weeks, millions of teenagers swarm across China. Cities become battlegrounds. Villages burn. Teachers flee. Local officials hide or commit suicide. The Cultural Revolution is no longer a Beijing nightmare. It is a continental disaster. Competition intensifies. Who is more devoted to Mao? Who is willing to kill more class enemies? Who can destroy more relics? Who can humiliate more intellectuals? Small disagreements inside Red Guard factions erupt into street warfare. Stones, iron rods, Molotov cocktails. Some units steal rifles from poorly guarded armories. Historian Yang Jisheng documents. Student groups armed themselves and fought pitched battles. Some cities experienced hundreds of deaths in weeks. Blood becomes the language of revolution. Mao watches from Zhongnanhai, and he smiles. He writes privately, "Revolution must be made with thunder and storm." He believes the country must be purified through destruction. He wants the old China dead. He wants his rivals broken. He wants absolute power. Millions will suffer for it. By early 1967, the Red Guards have done what Mao wanted. Destroyed schools, crushed teachers, terrorized intellectuals, humiliated party officials, burned culture. But the violence does not stop. It mutates. Now Red Guards target not the old enemies, but each other. Red Guard groups begin splintering into dozens of factions with names like the East is Red, Revolutionary Rebels, the Red Fighters, Mao Zedong Thought Corps, the United Action Committee. Each claims to be the true representative of Mao's will. Each accuses the others of being revisionists. Each vows to defend Mao to the death. Historian Yang Su writes, "Factions emerged not from ideology, but from personal networks, classmates, neighborhoods, families. Violence followed these existing lines. Friend fights friend. Classmates beat classmates. China becomes a battlefield of teenagers. The chaos reaches its peak in Shanghai. Workers' groups, students, and radical party cadres rise up against the municipal government. Factories shut down, transport collapses, city offices are raided. Mao watches the chaos unfold and encourages it. He praises the rebels, set up a Paris Commune in Shanghai, a reference to the violent 1871 uprising. This is not a metaphor. He wants full-scale revolutionary breakdown in cities across China, Chongqing, Wuhan, Changsha, Nanjing, Harbin, Xi'an. Red Guard factions engage in street combat. Rocks, chains, knives, homemade bombs, seized rifles, armored trucks welded together by factory workers. One Beijing survivor recalled, "We did not fear death. We feared being called counter-revolutionary." Fear becomes a weapon stronger than bullets. The Public Security Bureau is paralyzed. Mao's orders prevent them from intervening. But what about the People's Liberation Army? The PLA is told one thing: do not stop the Red Guards. Not yet. Why? Because Mao wants the factions to weaken each other. The more they kill each other, the fewer enemies Mao must deal with later. This is cruelty as strategy. When factions fight, each begs for Mao's support. Each sends reports claiming the other side is counter-revolutionary. Each wants the PLA to back them. Mao does not answer. He wants them desperate. Historian Elizabeth Perry notes, Mao manipulated the rivalries, granting favors selectively, ensuring no group became strong enough to challenge him. This is Dictatorship 101. Create chaos. Divide your followers. Rule the ruins. Entire districts become no-go zones. Factories become fortresses. Universities become war camps. Red Guard trucks roam cities like roaming militias. The violence reaches such extremes that even top party leaders panic. But Mao remains unmoved. He says, "Without great disorder, we cannot achieve great order." To Mao, the rivers of blood are not a crisis. They are a path to purification. China is now a nation of warring teenagers, and Mao is about to unleash something even darker: the People's Liberation Army. For a year, Mao used the Red Guards as a weapon to destroy rivals, to humiliate intellectuals, to terrorize the party, to plunge China into chaos. But now, the teenagers have become unpredictable, violent, uncontrollable. They are no longer just Mao's tool. They are a threat. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar writes, "Once the Red Guards destabilized the state, Mao turned to the army to stabilize it, brutally. And so Mao prepares a new weapon, the PLA. July 1967. The Wuhan Crisis. The turning point. Two factions in Wuhan, the Million Heroes and the Wuhan Workers' General Headquarters, wage full-scale street battles. Mao sends trusted Marshal Chen Zidao to restore order. Instead, Chen sides with one faction. The violence spirals into armed insurrection. When Mao personally visits Wuhan, angry militia units surround his hotel. For the first time, Mao hears gunfire directed at him. Historian Andrew Walder notes, "The Wuhan incident convinced Mao that only the People's Liberation Army, deployed nationally, could regain control. The Red Guards had gone too far." At internal party meetings, Mao signals a shift. "Too much chaos," he says. "We need order." But he refuses to take responsibility. Instead, he blames bad elements within the Red Guards, the very chaos he created. New directives circulate nationwide. PLA units will now intervene. PLA soldiers march into campuses, into factories, into neighborhoods. They come with rifles, bayonets, armored carriers. Students who once paraded through streets chanting Mao's name now run in terror. Witnesses recall soldiers shouting, "You wanted revolution? Here it is." Specific cities descend into military occupation: Chongqing. Red Guards bomb rail yards. PLA retaliates with grenades and machine guns. Guangzhou. Mass arrests. Executions on riverbanks. bodies float downstream for days. Xi'an and Shanxi province. Villages shelled, students beaten unconscious with rifle butts, because that's precisely what they were. PLA struggle sessions become deadly. Students forced to kneel on broken glass. Beaten until bones snap. March through streets with placards reading, "Criminal Red Guard." Some are shot in stadiums. Some disappear into military detention centers. Some commit suicide rather than surrender. Mao does not object. He approves every operation. Faction after faction disarms. Leaders are jailed, armories seized, campuses shut. Historian Elizabeth Perry writes, by late 1967, the PLA had defeated the Red Guards in every major city. Yet Mao remains indifferent. He had never cared about the youth, only their usefulness. The Red Guards, once Mao's children, now see who he truly is. One survivor wrote, "We believed we were defending the chairman, but he used us. Then he crushed us." Another said, "The PLA was not ending chaos. It was erasing us." Their god had become their executioner. China lies in ruins, and Mao is not done yet. Next comes the final betrayal, banishment. The very teenagers Mao once praised as the vanguard of the revolution are now labeled a problem. Their crime? They believed Mao's words too literally. They rebelled too enthusiastically. They caused the chaos Mao wanted, and now Mao needs an excuse to wipe them out. Historian Frank Dikötter writes, Mao shifted blame for the Cultural Revolution's violence away from himself and onto the Red Guards. And so begins the final purge. March 1968. A new order circulates through every school and work unit. All mass organizations must disband. Your revolution is over. Your loyalty means nothing. Your armbands are now illegal. PLA soldiers storm campuses at dawn. Banners torn down, headquarters smashed, leaders dragged out in handcuffs. Historian Andrew Walder notes, Red Guard organizations vanished almost overnight under military pressure. The movement dies faster than it rose. With a single order, Mao erases the Red Guards from the cities. Beginning in late 1968, Mao launches the mass deportation of Chinese youth. Between 1968 and 1976, over 17 million students are forced into rural exile. Historian Thomas P. Bernstein documents, this was the largest displacement of youth in the 20th century. Mao's rationale? They must learn from the peasants. The reality? He wants them scattered, defanged, removed from the cities they helped destroy. For the Red Guards, the exile is hell. No schools, no future, no purpose. They dig irrigation ditches in frozen fields, sleep in mud huts, eat coarse grain and wild vegetables, break stones for roads, cut firewood for communes that resent them. One former Red Guard wrote, "We destroyed our teachers. Now we had no teachers left." Another, "We thought we were Mao's army. Instead, we were dumped like garbage." The movement is not just suppressed, it is erased. The Ninth Party Congress convenes in April 1969. The Cultural Revolution is declared a great success. Mao is praised as infallible. Lin Biao becomes successor. And the Red Guards, never mentioned. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar states, The very youth who exalted Mao were airbrushed out of the revolution. Not honored, not thanked, not remembered, just discarded. Letters, diaries, and interviews decades later reveal the same realization. They were pawns, tools, expendable. One former Red Guard confessed, "We believed Mao was our father. He used us to kill for him. Then he abandoned us." Another survivor said, "Our generation was sacrificed, not for socialism, but for one man's power." By 1969, the Red Guards are gone. Mao has purged the youth, destroyed the old China, crushed his rivals, and rebuilt absolute power through blood. When the last Red Guard organizations are dissolved and millions of youth vanish into remote villages, Mao draws a final line across history. The message is clear: forget everything. The violence, the bodies, the terror, the shattered culture, the destroyed families. Historian Yang Jisheng writes, "After the Cultural Revolution's peak, the state's priority became not restoration, but erasure. China does not heal. It buries." The Red Guards were supposed to be Mao's chosen youth. Instead, they became a generation without schooling, a generation traumatized by violence, a generation haunted by the people they killed, a generation exiled to the countryside, a generation denied futures. Many never returned to normal life. They struggle to find jobs, struggle to marry, struggle with guilt. One former Red Guard recalls, "I beat my teacher to death. I have dreamed of her face for 40 years. Another said, "In the countryside, I learned how to farm, but not how to live with myself." Trauma becomes the silent language of an entire generation. China's cultural loss is incalculable. Temples burned, books destroyed, ancient genealogies lost, antiques smashed, museums looted, graves desecrated. Historian Orville Schell summarizes, "The Cultural Revolution was perhaps the most extensive cultural vandalism of the 20th century. What Mao called purification, future generations call cultural amputation." By the end of the Red Guard era, Mao had eliminated rivals, humiliated intellectuals, broken the bureaucracy, dominated the party, rebuilt his cult to godlike heights. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar explains, "The Red Guards were a tool for Mao to return to supreme power after the failures of the Great Leap Forward. Their fate, betrayal, exile, obliteration was part of the plan. Mao did not love the youth. He used them as weapons, and weapons, once dull, are discarded." To this day, the Cultural Revolution remains one of the most sensitive subjects in China. Books banned, memories suppressed, archives sealed, victims silent out of fear, perpetrators silent out of shame. Historian Dikötter notes, "The most important documents of the Cultural Revolution remain locked away. The party fears what full truth would reveal. China lives with a ghost it refuses to name. Mao promised China a revolution of purity. What he created was a generation of victims and perpetrators, many of them the same people. He erased the past, destroyed the present, and condemned the future. This is the legacy of the Red Guards. A nation traumatized, a culture wounded, and a dictator whose cruelty shaped an entire century.